So last week I was at a conference in Los Angeles, and so Will spoke and told you about this experiment that we are undertaking, this attempt at a forum, a discussion forum on Tuesday nights, just as a change-up and the possibility of looking into some of the dilemmas that we face in today's world in terms of really being attentive to our lives and attentive to practice. So tonight's topic is about leisure and how we spend our leisure, essentially. So, but I want to say also that I know we all read books, and we should, and we study the Dharma in text and so forth. But Zen practice is essentially about practice beyond the sutras, practice without the sutras, perhaps we could even say. That is, the point is that we are to study ourselves, to pay attention to ourselves, to figure out the mechanisms of our own minds, our own follies, our foibles, and to truly come to know ourselves. So we don't have a text for this next several weeks that we are going to be trying to create a discussion forum. But we are going to begin tonight with some questions. We're going to give them out, and we'll give some time for you to look at them and consider them. And also at the bottom, it suggests that, or I really encourage you to keep a reflection journal during this week and use these questions for a reflection journal. And you'll also see that I encourage you to read The War of Art, the book, The War of Art. Very short little book. Change your life. It's a book that will change your life. It's about resistance. So, so if you just give those out. And I'm just going to read those silently. I'd like you to reflect on them for a few minutes, then we'll have some discussion, and we will see if we can have some. So this word leisure is, in the Zen meaning of leisure, which I'm just going to say, it's got a very, very high meaning to it. Leisure means that we are already Buddha nature, so we can totally relax in life because we are at leisure in the field of the Buddha. So everything we do is our leisure because we know that we are in the field of awakening and that our practice is awakening itself. So leisure is a big word in Zen practice. So, but it comes out as something a little bit as though maybe it sounds frivolous or something that we can just sort of hang out with, time to hang out. But these questions are maybe important about whether we are awake to something deeper in us, more creative, and whether we are using our time in an awake way. Will is going to facilitate for us, aren't you?
Yes.
And I hope that this to be a conversation. But we also thought that to remain on our cushions was important for this conversation because it is about practice. Our leisure is about practice. So.
As I sit here, I'm reminded of the story I was told about this woman who bought a house along a lake. It was like this beautiful house with this great view, and she wanted to live there so that she could wake up every morning and sort of like walk out on the dock and drink coffee or just enjoy the view for 10, 15 minutes. But she never really did. And she realized this like years later that she kind of got swept up in her job and just being too busy and not taking time to do the thing that was sort of like right there that was so important to like her beginning and being there in the first place. And I think like on some level, like, I feel like I do that. I would think we all kind of have that thing that's so close to us and so important, but yet, I don't know, we like buy this idea that we're too busy for, and we kind of forget. I don't know, I'm sort of like reminded of like the Kurt Vonnegut idea that like the most contestable thing about people is that they so rarely realize when they're happy. It's almost like when you have leisure, it's like to know it's leisure is like this other thing. Like to just appreciate it.
Mm.
But I hold these like questions in my hand. I think kind of like my version of the lake is that I love journaling every morning. Because it just connects me to that part of myself that like knows it's alive.
Yeah.
And like, I know I love doing that, and I know it just enriches my day, and I still don't normally do that.
Yeah.
So I think I will. Like, I'm gonna do this myself. I'm gonna, like my first cup of coffee in the morning. I'm gonna sit. I'm just gonna
Morning
appreciate the
pages.
fact that
Yeah.
I'm alive, and
Yeah.
that like this is pretty good.
Yeah. Cup of coffee in the morning kind of does that for those who drink coffee. There's always that, wow, life is good.
I think it's hard to, have a moment of leisure when everywhere you turn in this society, it's like you gotta do this, do that, make money, all these projects that people are telling you that you have to do, and it's only until you retire that you can actually take the time and have leisure.
So for those of us who are retired, how many have any more leisure than when they were working? You discover, how could you possibly have kept a job?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But I think there is like an element of like privilege to this, and I think there's like this element of like I don't have children, and so I know like my leisure time is sort of like structured, where I think like some people have a more dynamic existence where they sort of get it where it comes, but I think we all do have those moments of leisure. And I think this isn't so much about like cultivating more leisure per se, but just like enjoying like the gift of life that we have, like as we have it. Because I think you do have leisure moments, even though our society is jerry-rigged and it's stressful, and I mean life is chaotic and whatnot, but you still have those moments every day, I think. I think if like appreciating that more, I think, I don't know, it's just healthy. Because I think we can fall into that way of thinking like it's all chaos, or it's all, like a failing political world, or it's all just gross consumerism in a failing environment, but there's so much beauty at the same time. Like, why not look at it?
And there's no doubt the impact question, they were supposed to have numbers next to them, but they don't. In my sense of is the information that I'm receiving about the world detrimental or restorative to my personal creative expression? I think that is tremendous impact right now on people, that just the news alone is enough to have people feel a dampering to their creative time, or to open the space of their creative minds so that they aren't inundated by the conflicts and chaos of today's society. It's extremely difficult. So many artists that I know feel the impact of our times, and feel, especially writers, feel the difficulty to open to a space within them to be able to create. So it's very difficult.
One
But-
of the more interesting and surprising aspects of becoming retired for me was feeling that I had more to do than ever, that I was busier than ever. And I realized a part of that feeling came in realizing for the first time in my adult life, I had complete choice and responsibility for my own actions. You know, for most of our lives, from the time we're in kindergarten, we're being told what to do and where to go, and certainly that plays out in our professions. We're being guided, we're being told, instructed, we have schedules, but when you become retired, that's gone, and you are responsible for your moment-to-moment, day-to-day activities. And for a while that was a little overwhelming, particularly since I seemed unable to stop being so busy. I didn't feel like I had much leisure time in my life. With respect to the onslaught of information, it occurred to me recently that I'm responsible for what I expose myself to. I have choice, and by golly, I don't need to spend an hour every day reading 3 newspapers or listening to the radio. And so recently I have been very conscious of that time, and I've restricted my exposure to information that generally I find, if not detrimental, sometimes useless. I think I'm healthier for it.
Yeah. There's no doubt that choice is embedded in the question of leisure, in all of that. It's a big issue of choice. But if you are busy now, that's how it will be when you retire. So, as your life is now, will be as when you retire. Same thing will happen. You'll be busy.
So so how do you square this idea of leisure in Zen Buddhism with this idea that we need to be engaged socially as Buddhists, or we should anyways, or even should we?
I don't see that comes up in the question of leisure. It's a question of choice. How do you wish to spend your time? And that certainly a portion of your time can be given to social action if you choose to do that. Is that what you mean,
Well,
social action?
Yeah, I do, but to me, leisure speaks to, so when we engage, we have to engage the world if we want to make a difference, if we want to affect change in a certain way, in a positive way. And this idea of leisure, as I understand it, is something that you don't necessarily, you can just allow it to happen.
You could.
And that we don't have to necessarily engage in that way. I guess I'm torn, you know?
I guess, this is kind of a little surreal for me, because I was thinking about this about myself today. I think it's just sort of where I'm at in my own life at 31, but like realizing some things for the first time about myself. And I think it's sort of like it's sort of a joke. I mean, what would motivate someone to do what I am doing? I think I'm starting to realize, like, I'm not very good at just, like, enjoying life. Because I feel like I should be doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, I think that's sort of what this is coming from, is that sense of, like, just accepting that it's okay to do things that you enjoy. Because, like, that's part of life, too. It's like, because we can't always be, like, that responder for other people. Like, we can't be in that go mode all the time. I think we'll burn out.
I wonder if the concept of intimacy would be helpful. I find that when I'm practicing a leisure that's not restorative, it has to do with me distancing myself from the busyness of my day, from the stress, the anguish, whatever I'm experiencing. I wonder if intimacy might guide us as a practice, both in our leisure and our work. When busy, be completely immersed in your busyness, your striving, and when leisure is appropriate, then be intimate with that.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and Steve, I don't know that one suggests that you can't have both of those. That is to say, that if we embrace leisure when it's there, it enhances the social action. It enhances our ability to be free when we perform some kind of social action, so that we aren't doing it out of resistance or wishing that we were someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that a sense of, or ability to be free in leisure, or intimate, as Bill says, in that leisure, is to enhance everything else. So I don't think that one restricts the other.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's only 24 hours in a day. So if we are, full-time employed, we have a family, we have so many responsibilities, so that the idea of leisure might be seem remote to us. And yet, 10 minutes of just sitting down and being where we are, however that's expressed, and acknowledging that that's what it is, might be quite restorative, even if we aren't feeling as though we have to go and paint or write or run or whatever it is we do for that time. Maybe it's a question of liberation, liberating ourselves to be able to just be that at that time.
As I hear you say that, I get the sense it's like where it's coming from within.
Mm.
It's like the intentionality, sort of more than the activity. Like whether one
Yes.
paints
Yeah.
or
Sure.
calms down
Yeah.
for 10 minutes.
It's not what you do, it's how you do it that's important. So it could be a cup of coffee that is your leisure, as we said in the first thing in the morning, a coffee and writing. It doesn't have to be the writing, just how you do that, how you have that coffee is key. So it is coming from a very inside place, a recognition of being alive.
Son, that's kind of where I was, what you were just talking about was where I was going with those first questions. Leisure as how we do something. I related this last week, but I went to a reunion in St. Louis, grade school reunion, 50 years. And while I was there, one of my old classmates came, we were talking, goes, well, what do you do for fun? And I was stuck. I mean, because I was thinking, well, what do I do day in, day out? I work in the garden, I do yard work, I do this. Is that fun? I mean, would someone consider that a fun activity? And yet, I enjoy
You are happy.
doing it.
Yeah.
And so leisure is really, I mean, in my mind, it's how I cut the grass.
Yeah.
I don't have a deadline necessarily. And then, of course, I'm a retired person too, so I don't have, a very strict schedule. I still have things I have to do, but I can get into the activity of cutting the grass and doing the trimming and sweeping up and looking at what I've done when I'm finished. And I mean, I could say the same about cooking or other activities. So I guess that's where I am with that.
Mm-hmm.
At first I was kind of stumped because I always opposed leisure and work.
Yeah, right.
There's this and there's that, and when I'm not doing this, I should be doing this. And I would often find myself, okay, I don't have anything to do for the next 2 hours. What am I going to do? And then I'm stuck because I don't know what to do. And I end up pretty much frittering away the 2 hours sitting around. So I think, yeah, it makes more sense to me that leisure would be how I am doing whatever I'm doing
Right.
at the moment.
So that of course is the Buddhist situation, that because we are already Buddha nature, what we do is within Buddha nature. So we are at leisure as the expression of Buddha.
Mhm.
Everything is the expression
Yeah.
of Buddha then.
Yeah, I mean, there were even times when I was working where I felt that same experience. Not very often, but enough times that
Yeah.
it was like, oh, you know, that report was fun. I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed, you know, crafting the staff report or working with someone in the lobby.
Right.
Kind of maybe that's one aspect of this time element. It seems to, there's no hurry,
Sure.
really.
Right.
You're just
Right.
doing it.
Yeah, that's another thing in Zen practice. We are encouraged never to hurry, which doesn't mean that you don't move fast sometimes. And that's one of our practices, that we walk around and we walk slowly and then we walk quickly. But when we are walking quickly, we are not hurrying. And that is the practice, to not hurry when we walk fast. It's something that we acquire as we walk around quickly, to not hurry as we move fast. Got it? No, you don't. Hurrying is a within thing. I've got to get there, I've got to get there. But moving quickly is to move within space in such a way that we disturb nothing as we move around. Even the air is not disturbed when we move quickly. So it is that sort of same thing that we do, that we don't hurry when we walk quickly.
This
So you have
larger,
to- yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
This larger, much broader definition of leisure in the context of Zen Buddhism is most intriguing,
Yes,
especially as leisure should be liberating.
yes,
So to be direct, is our Zazen a very disciplined activity, expression of leisure?
yes.
I mean, it's work sometimes.
It truly is. But as you know, that when we ring the bell for Zazen, you're completely undisturbed. Nobody's going to bother you, really. You're there. It's total freedom. So it is perfect leisure. Even though there's effort to stay awake and effort to hold posture, etc., but it is complete leisure in space. So,
Such a gift.
yeah. Yes, Amir.
You know, when you compare our,
He's the piece of his liver, he just can't see him.
Oh.
I'm wind up because I'm in the seat, I'm doing more of the, go ahead, yeah.
when you compare our society not only to Eastern societies, but even European societies, there's not as high of a value on leisure here. And there's almost kind of a cloud hanging over it here in the sense that it's seen as necessary, but at the same time, kind of selfish and unproductive as far as society is concerned. So yeah, you deserve it, you ought to do it, but just hurry up and get it over with, and then come get back to work.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
And so that's the kind of thinking that we're brought up in, that makes us feel guilty about, you know, some of the stories that we were just talking about today.
yeah.
I want to go have that cup of coffee on the dock, but I just read this horrible story in the newspaper, and I'm not going to do that. It's, you know, it's not very productive right now.
Yeah.
It seems like we're describing a quality of relating to our lives, as Bob was saying, sort of in the mowing of the grass and also the writing of the report. But there's a way that the Dharma teaches us to be in relationship. And I was just struck by what you were saying, is that we live in a culture where both work and leisure are commodities, and they're to be strived after and grasped. You know, leisure as much as work, productivity. So, but it seems like Zen is inviting us to be liberated from the commodification of our
Yes,
minds and bodies.
yes.
I think something that's emerging for me from this, like listening to Bob and Bill, is that it's like we can it's almost like easy to import like a value or standard about what our leisure should look like and how much of it we should have, whether that's coming from like social norms or maybe we're just coming from this habitual place, like we just habitualized how we spend our leisure time. I think like this is sort of like just, it's like reassessing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is my leisure time what I want it to be?
Yeah.
Like, am I doing things that are additive to my life?
Right.
I think that it's just like it's just an assessment.
Assessment,
I think.
yes, indeed. Yeah.
It's just looking at what leisure is like in your life now. And just seeing if it is what you want it to be. Like, if you are conscious of it. Like, if it's restorative.
I just came back from 6 weeks of vacation, and it was R&R for me. It was totally for relaxation, to just re-energize. And
I feel very relevant to the story is that it's the first time you took vacation in how many years?
well, I've gone to visit family, but usually there's a lot of work involved in that. So this kind of vacation, I don't know that I have taken here since I've been here.
Sorry
So,
to interrupt, to go on.
well, yeah, it was really interesting because I didn't really do anything I didn't want to do. And so I had a lot of open space, open time during the day, and I could choose. And one of the things that was really energizing and healing about that was actually one of the things that I discovered is the feeling of drivenness that I have often, like when I'm here or anywhere, when I'm not on vacation, is it doesn't come, it's not imposed from the outside. It comes from within me. And it's that same thing that some of you were talking about, that I have to do this. I should be doing this. I should be doing the next thing. And so my inner posture during the daytime has been a leaning forward to the next thing. And that is exhausting because my feet aren't under me. I'm out of balance when I'm doing that. And so that's one of the things that really came to me when I had this wonderful time near the beach in California, and so now I'm back. I've been here about a week, and it's keeping that lesson alive in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I already noticed that I have a tendency to just go right back into that habit. But I'm really, really just trying to be present enough to remember to lean back and to keep that upright balance. Is kind of a posture like we sit in Zazen, and keeping that, not leaning forward or leaning back or to the left or the right, but straight, keeping my feet under me. And also, I realized that there are all kinds of wonderful things I could be doing, things that I enjoy, and I've made priorities, and they will slip away so fast if I don't maintain the presence of mind to remember to that this is leisure too. In each moment, I can recognize or realize that by just staying where exactly I am. So,
Yeah. It is all practice. All practice. But I'm glad you bring up this question of posture, because it is so, look at the leaning back people did when I said that, which is so interesting. And sometimes when we are sitting zazen, if we notice that, sometimes we notice we lean forward, or resistance, we lean too far back and resisting something. And it's indicative of this, where the mind is and how the mind is wrestling with the challenges we face. So the posture is a big thing. We don't want to be so strict that we can't allow ourselves to sit casually sometimes or whatever, but it is a posture. Inner posture is a really important aspect of this. So anything else? So I encourage folks to please, just for these few weeks that we are doing, we're going to have various discussions, and the point is to help ourselves wake up in various aspects of our lives, and just to assess, as Will said, just to assess where we are, and just because it's a change up in what we've been doing. And so it's an experiment. Indeed, right? It is. It is indeed. So you can give us feedback and tell us this is great. Helpful, very helpful. So encourage that. And then again, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. If you haven't read it, please get it. It's a small book. It's about $3 or $5 or something like that. And it's a life changer. It's all about resistance and the way resistance works in us. To me, it is one of the most profound books that I have read in my life, that Stephen Pressfield, I think, realized in his own life that he has given to the world, to say, please look at your life and look at the resistances that occur that keep you from doing whatever it is you do or choose to do, resisting writing, resisting art, resisting anything. Resistance is so deeply built into us, and he tries to open it up and unfold the ways in which we resist. So please get it. It's about $5, something like that. Really, really good book.
Well, speaking of feedback and books,
Yeah.
the Essence of Zen, our next study text, is not available through Orca. Their distributor can't get it. Browser tells me that it's on back order and they have no idea when they might see it again. But you can get it from the publisher, from Wisdom Publications,
Okay.
directly from them.
Okay, good. I think there are many used copies on the market. Many. So I think that you can get it for $3 or $5. It is through Amazon, but you will see that there are used copies available online.
Ada-san,
I
Yeah.
did not think of Amazon.
there was a
Sorry,
copy,
yeah.
there was a copy among the books that I was taking to various bookstores for trade.
Yeah.
So I pulled it out.
Oh, good.
And it's in the office.
Okay, well, you have your own
I have
copy.
my own
Okay.
copy.
Oh, so somebody could purchase
so
it from
somebody
you.
could.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was one of the books that was in the box that I was trying to.
I see. Well,
So,
it should go then to somebody who has a financial need, perhaps, so let's put
Okay,
it
here.
aside for that.
or could we just put in the library?
Yeah, we
People-
have one
someone
copy
could
in the
use it.
library. Yeah, we
So-
could put one in the,
We actually have 2 copies in the library, but one has been checked out and is long overdue. I'm gonna have to contact that person. and
Okay.
Try to get it back.
okay, all right, so we'll give it to the librarian and,
Okay,
and she can decide. So we might keep it in the reserve so that we have one copy there on reserve.
That's why it was in the box. We have 3 of those. We have 3 of them. We
Yeah.
need 3, so we gave one.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when you announced the book,
Okay.
I pulled it out
Very
real
good,
quick,
very
so.
good, yeah. well, Harada Roshi is one of the great teachers of Soto Zen. Maybe the most, we shouldn't compare, but he's profoundly awakened, and we read his other book, in Incredible Depths,
Oh,
whatever it is.
Unfathomable Depths.
Unfathomable Depths. And so this is his first book, so it's a little bit more of a primer, but it is an excellent book, and I think it works well with what we are doing in these discussions. And we'll carry the discussion into Saturday, but that will be our primal reading. But if you object to going on to Amazon, I'm sorry, but I know that there are many, many used copies that you can get through Amazon. So I know that they have a limited, in the new books, they've only got about 6 left on the Amazon page. But you can get it new if you want. They have copies, and then lots and lots of used copies.
Yeah, and they get it from bookstores all over the country, so often you're getting it from a small business, so it's just through Amazon.
I really appreciate that you went to Orca for it, though. To go to the independent bookstores, but unavailable. So the Orca wouldn't order it from the publisher?
Orca said that their distributor just couldn't get it,
I see.
which is surprising because
Okay.
they do, work in used books,
Yeah, right.
fundamentally in browsers. But another source for good used books is Alibris.com.
Mm.
Yeah. Powell's too. You could get it through Powell's.
Or Powell's.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sure they've got used copies. I'm not sure, but I suspect. So, okay, my friends. Let's assess. Assess, and then maybe make some habitual change, little tiny habitual changes in our lives that enhance our, that restore the soul, and help us all along during these very dark times. So, all right. And very light times at the same time.